Mrs. Moore says her husband is an irresponsible cheater with a drinking problem who conveniently forgot to tell her about his other wife. Today on Divorce Court.
All rise. The Honorable Judge Starr presiding.
Hello, everyone. You may be seated.
Your Honor, the case of Moore v. Moore.
Thank you very much. We have a married couple in front of us today that are in divorce court, and we are very glad to have you both, and thank you for trusting us with your relationship. Today, we are looking at a case that involves allegations of lying, distrust, and recklessness when it comes to behavior. So we'll find out what this relationship has going on and if it's going to last the test of time. Mrs. Moore, I understand you all have been together for 23 years, married for 17 years, Mr. Moore. You have 2 children together, and you each have children from previous relationships. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore, why are we in court today?
Well, Your Honor, I am here because my husband is a habitual liar.
Oh, my goodness.
He cheats and he drinks excessively sometimes. And so I'm just at the point of no return in the marriage, and I feel like it's time for us to separate and be divorced.
I see that you have brought divorce papers to court, and that usually means that the plaintiff, when they bring divorce papers in, they're serious about this relationship being at the end of its rope. Am I correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to go over here to Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, you heard what your wife said. What do you say, sir?
I want to save our marriage because I know that I'm not perfect and I made some mistakes in my life, but the things that I love her with all my heart, and she's always been the woman of my dreams and always the woman of my desires.
So I'm going to go on over here to Miss Moore. Miss Moore, why don't you take me back to how did you all meet and what led to the point where you say this man is not the man of your dreams but a habitual liar?
Yes. Mr. Moore and I met in high school.
Okay.
So we've been knowing each other over half of our lives. We reconnected as adults at church. We saw each other. He was a cameraman at the church. He went to a different church service than I normally go to. And we saw each other and hugged, and it was just a magical hug. And from that day forward, we began to date and have a relationship.
What did you know about Mr. Moore in the interim from, high school until you reconnected again?
I didn't know much because I had not seen him since high school until we reconnected. But after we began to date, we dated about 3 years off and on, and I found out that he was already married.
Wow. Wait, so are you telling me you were not intentionally the side chick?
I was not intentionally the side chick. I thought I was the top chick.
Were y'all living together at the time?
No, we were not.
Interesting. Mr. Moore. Mrs. Moore says that before she became Mrs. Moore, there was another Mrs. Moore that you didn't tell her about.
That is true. It was through I had a college friend that I married, and it was arranged marriage. It wasn't a serious marriage.
What does that mean?
That means that we had got married and we had separated for good, and I couldn't get in contact with her and she couldn't get in contact with me.
So in other words, you all never lived together as husband and wife?
No, we didn't. Nope.
And how long after you married this college relationship did you start dating the now Mrs. Moore?
I want to say about 3 years. About 3 years after that, that's when we started dating, and I knew that was the woman of my life, and my dreams, and that's when I really took it serious.
So why didn't you tell her?
Because I was afraid. I didn't know what. I just was afraid.
But you knew you could never go forward with a full relationship with her while this fake marriage was pending. You know what I mean?
Yes, it was a lie that I was living. And at the time that I didn't know that I was going to fall in love with her. I knew that I liked, from the start when I seen her, I fell in love with her. But I didn't know the feelings that I was feeling until it came to the point where it was kind of late and where I'd already had been in this lie.
And so you basically felt boxed in?
Pretty much, yes.
How'd you find out?
Your Honor, let me tell you, we were dating and we were getting serious, and then all of a sudden his communication just dropped off. I didn't know what happened, and I get a call from this lady, and she tells me that he was in jail and that he had been married the whole time. She did tell me, you know, that they didn't have that kind of relationship, but...
Wait, this was the actual wife that called you? Oh, Lord, that's bold. Keep going.
Yes. So, Your Honor, I would not have believed it if she had not told me herself. And so because of that, I decided, okay, you're going to get a divorce. I'm going to forgive you, and we're going to move forward.
Just my question. What was a lady calling you about to tell you that he was in jail?
She told me that he had already told her about me and that he told her that he loved me.
Okay.
And she told me the whole situation, that they had never lived together as a married couple. And because of that, I decided to move forward.
Did you bail him out?
No, absolutely not.
I was hoping not, because I was about to say, let your fake wife bail you out. At least one last thing she could do. But y'all had to get through that, as I can imagine.
Yes.
Okay, so you did, because we are here now.
Yes.
But did the lies continue?
They continued.
Okay.
They continued. Okay, so then he's lied off and on throughout the whole marriage. Like, it's been a consistent thing. He had an ex.
Another ex? Mr. Moore.
She came to my apartment and wrecked it. Tore it up because she didn't believe, and that's just in the beginning when I'm telling her, like, I wasn't cheating, I wasn't doing anything. But she didn't believe me then.
I did actually call him cheating.
You actually caught him?
Yes.
So now what does that look like when you say you actually caught him?
So he has an ex that he continuously talks to whenever we have rough patches. He talks to this particular ex. He will sit outside in the car and talk to her for hours. At one point, Your Honor, he even took his things to her house, moved them into her house.
Mr. Moore, why are you still in communication with an ex?
Well, let me take you to the beginning of
okay, I want to hear.
Our relationship was like when we were dating, I had my apartment, and we were dating, I gave her a key to my apartment. And I was charging my phone. I went to a picnic with one of my friends, and she couldn't get a hold of me. She came to my apartment and wrecked it. Tore it up because she didn't believe, and that's just in the beginning when I'm telling her, like, I wasn't cheating, I wasn't doing anything, but she didn't believe me then. And so the allegations has been against me since then.
So I'm thinking, even though the now Mrs. Moore says that she forgave you and y'all got through that initial lie, there was always something in the back of your mind thinking he's lying or he's doing something or he's sneaky. You know, people say that they can forgive, but they never forget.
Exactly. Yes, Joe.
And the only way you get through it is to prove that you are trustworthy. So
yes.
I'm trying to figure out what would make her not trust you.
Well, the thing, I think, because, like, she's a barber. She's around men all the time, and I never put any allegations on her. Like, even one time, one of her barber friends said, hey, can you make me some food for my birthday? She said yes. She took it over there, and she was gone for 3 hours.
So do you actually believe that Mrs. Moore
I never believe,
stepped out?
I never believe these things because it's just, but the allegations are there.
Wait.
Yes.
Why don't you believe it?
Because I think the fear of me thinking about it and trying to pursue it, like to say.
Your Honor, I've never cheated on him.
No,
never.
the answer is you don't think it because it's not in her character to do that. She's never given you any reason to really believe it.
It's kind of hard to say because the friend that I know that he is like a womanizer, and like he dated most of her friends. And she was gone for 3 hours.
Mr. Moore, I'm still waiting to hear. I don't want you. I don't want you to.
Good time, Your Honor.
Right.
That's why
I don't want you to think that I forgot.
Okay.
One moment. I didn't forget. Why are you in the car with your ex having conversations? Because remember, you said, let me take you back. I'm not interested in the rest of it. I'm interested to know why you continue to have a long relationship with his ex.
But that's not true. Like, she would call me every so often, but it wasn't a thing where I was talking to her all the time.
You took your belongings over to her home?
Well, she was a friend of my family's, so she called and said, hey, I understand that you and your wife are having some problems.
Why does she know your business?
Because my sister, because she called my sister. Her and my sister are friends. And my sister said, hey, I want Brian to come to the house. Because him and his
Your
wife
Honor, I call him cheating
him and his wife.
One moment.
Him and his wife had got into it, and he won't come to my house. I don't want him sleeping in the car because it's cold. She called me and said, hey, I just bought a house. The house is empty. You can go to the house. She said, I just went through a divorce, and so I'm helping. I want to help you so you cannot do anything, so you won't do anything crazy.
So now here's my question, Mr.
Yes.
Moore. If your now wife decided y'all going through a rough patch, and she called an ex who had a nice house and told her, that's okay, I just want to make sure you taken care of. You can come and stay at my house. How would you feel about that?
I would feel probably the same way as well.
Okay.
But it was innocent. It was definitely innocent.
But that is a reason why she
Your
does
Honor,
not trust
he
you.
actually did cheat. I did actually caught him cheat.
You actually caught him?
Yes.
So now what does that look like when you say you actually caught him?
My husband didn't come home all night. I open up the front door, I see something in the front yard, I'm looking. He in the front yard, laid out, covered with puke. I said, where's your car? He don't know where the car is. Where's our son? Once Brian said that he wanted to go visit his grandma. The grandma lived in another state. Now our family never met the grandma before because she lived in another state. And it was very suspicious that he wanted to go and meet this and go to see the grandma without us because our family does everything together. He went to another barber. Now, he told you I was his barber, right? He came home with a haircut from another barber. I said, where you going? He got on nice clothes. I don't know what's in the bag. He's gone, right? So I accepted. I let him go. We talked on the phone the whole way there. He told me he was about 30 minutes away. The communication stopped. I'm calling. Your Honor, I'm so worried. I'm thinking he's in a ditch. Something's bad has happened to him. He finally calls back the next day. Oh, yeah, I pulled over on the side of the road because I was tired and I went to sleep. 30 minutes away from the grandma's house? Okay. So he comes back home after this trip. We making love, and my pH is so off. I'm like, something is going on here. Finally, after I find the messages in his phone from this woman, he admitted that he slept with the lady.
Tag, you're it, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, that's not actually how everything went. It was like we were having trouble in our marriage, and like she had stopped coming home for like 3 or 4 months.
You're lying.
She had stopped coming home. She started hanging out with her sister a lot, and she wouldn't come home. And so at this point,
wait, are you really telling me that Mrs. Moore
yes,
was not living in the home with you?
no, she was living there. She just stopped coming home. Like she would come home, then when I cut off work, she would leave.
So in other words, she didn't want to be bothered with you during that time period. Is that what you're saying?
She didn't want to be bothered. So because whatever the disagreement that we had, she was just like, I'm over this. And so at that moment, I told her that I was going to see my grandmother. She knew my grandmother. She met my grandmother.
I did not.
And so happened that I ran into a friend of mine that I met when I lived in that city when I was younger. We actually met with friends, and then she said, "Hey, let's go back to my house," and we was talking.
Then there we go.
And then actually I had a couple drinks, and one thing led to another.
So one thing didn't lead to another. You set in motion that you were going to have an illicit relationship with somebody, and I can tell you how I know that to be fact because you got all pretty in order to go.
I didn't go. My wife cut my hair.
I did not.
She did cut my hair because
You're lying.
I went to the barbershop.
To another barber.
No, I went to the barbershop where you worked, and you cut my hair. She cut my hair.
The thing that makes me laugh about this is somebody's gaslighting somebody. The woman knows if she cut your hair on the trip that she is bringing up, that you went to the grandmother's, but you really didn't go to the grandmother's. You really went and hooked up with another lady. She remembers that you came looking good and another barber cut your hair.
Yes, he came to my job.
So that's like a lie that's not necessary.
But why would I go to her job and get
you already had that haircut when you came to my barbershop. And I was like, you went to another barber?
She remembers this, Mr. Moore. I'm curious. You say that there's drinking involved, and I want to find out what the real core of these problems are.
Your Honor, my husband is not, he will say he's not an alcoholic, but when he drinks, he becomes angry, he's mean, and it makes it so hard for me to just be myself. Like, he'll say that I'm picking with him, that I'm judging him, and I'm just being me, but I have to walk on eggshells around him when he's drinking.
So I'm going to turn to Mr. Moore first and say, do you think you have an alcohol problem?
No, I don't have an alcohol problem. I actually went to AA, and they asked me why was I here. Because I wanted to prove a point.
That don't make sense, because I'm gonna tell you right now, AA don't operate like that. They don't say, the first thing that AA is about is no judgment.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing. So when you walk in the door, they're not asking you to prove your alcoholism. They're asking you to find your own truth.
Okay.
So here's my question. If you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, did you ever participate? Did you ever do any of the therapeutic steps?
Yes, I did. I did the therapeutic steps.
So you say you don't have a problem with alcohol?
I don't have a problem with alcohol. I would say I have a problem with alcohol for as mixed drinks. So if I'm mixing, because I'm not an alcoholic, so if I drink, then
Your
if
Honor,
it's something...
he lost his truck, his son, and had an accident under the
Wait a minute, that sounds like somebody got a problem with liquor, okay? So help me to understand. Give me a real example of what makes you say he has a problem with alcohol.
Your Honor, one morning, my husband didn't come home all night. I open up the front door, I see something in the front yard, I'm looking. I said, is that him in the front yard? He in the front yard, laid out, covered with puke. I'm like, what? I go out there, I get him up. I said, where's your car? He don't know where the car is. Where's our son?
Wait, he had the baby?
The son was gone too. He don't know where, and he had an accident that night. So took us a few hours to figure it out, but he ended up, the truck was in the middle of the street running on the other side of the cul-de-sac. And the son was at his mom's house.
That's not true. So, like, I had went to a 4th of July party with my son, and they had like lemonade mixed drinks, and so I'm not an alcoholic. So what I'm trying to say is that the mixed drink tastes like lemonade. So I had 2 of them, and so it did make me a little bit intoxicated, and I did drop my son off at my mother's house.
Your Honor,
I just didn't remember.
Like 7 at the time.
Wait a minute, 1 second. You dropped your 7-year-old off at his grandmother's house?
Yes.
And you didn't remember that?
And I did not remember.
That means you was drunk as Cootie Brown.
I was.
Okay.
I was, and just so I was told that that's what I was laying in. I was laying at our house in the front yard, but when I woke up, I was in the middle of the street in my car, and so from that point on, I don't drink like that.
He lying.
No, I don't drink like that.
He do.
Next time on Divorce Court.
Let me tell you the last time he was drinking. That's basically the final straw, Your Honor. He started yelling, cussing. He slammed on the brakes in the middle of the highway.
I'm glad your daughter is here. I want to hear from her. Yes. Because maybe she can give me some insight as to what she has seen over the years, because this doesn't even seem like friends anymore.
When he did drink, he would be very angry. And so that would lead to different aggressive behaviors and him kicking in doors. So it did affect me as an adult.
It definitely hurts to hear that.
The things that we've been through have changed me so much. I'm not the same woman that he married. I need my girls to see me be strong and not take no